Hey coaches, this is Coach Jay.
And Coach Will.
We're here today to talk about where do I begin when it comes to coaching young people basketball. We've coached enough teams to know we've figured out 4 general principles for where to start with coaching young players. So let's talk about them. Number 1 is, how are you going to coach? You have to decide what you're going to do, what your approach is going to be. There are 2 very clear, kind of almost diverging paths. Some really advanced people can accomplish both at the same time.
Sure.
And that's where we want to help people get to. So the real issue there is, am I going to coach to win with this team in this league, in this setting, which is fine, or am I going to coach to develop these players for their long-term future?
They don't have to be completely opposite of each other. Even though they're 2 pathways, we can develop players and potentially win games.
Yes, right.
But we don't want that to be the determining factor of our decision making.
That's exactly.
If I decide, hey, I want to win games, and that causes 2 or 3 players on the team that's to their detriment, that's not the pathway we want to take.
No, right.
When they become 2 pathways, when we have to make a choice between winning games and developing players.
Which one are we going to do?
Which one do we want to do? And you and I are of the same mindset, hands down, that we would rather develop players than win games.
So that means there would be times where you put the ball in the hands of a player who's not yet a capable point guard.
Sure.
And get them, and it could be not even close to capable, to get them used to it. We have stories of players we've done that with who did not like the idea of bringing the ball up and making any decisions and grew into it.
Right.
And if you do that for a player who becomes 6'6", that's a lifelong gift. And if you do it for a player, if you get a player off of the ball who's always used to having the ball in their hands, you're doing them a favor, because they could be on teams in the future where they're not the best ball handler.
Right.
And they'll know how to play off of the ball. So issue number 1, decide what you're going to do when the rubber meets the road. Am I going to coach to develop players, or am I going to coach to win these games? And down the road, after you make some decisions, if you're going to be for the development of players, down the road, you can start to do some tweaking. Hey, let's try this and see if we can win with this, right?
Under that umbrella, it's still for everyone's development. You could tweak, but let's make that decision here, and every decision that we make from that point on falls underneath that decision
and look,
that we make.
Look, your ego will take a beating in the games if you do that. It's guaranteed, no question. So you'll at times wonder whether you can coach. You'll wonder whether any of it was a good idea or not. Number 2, if you're going to coach to develop players, where do I start? Okay, once you get going in some drills, think maximum number of reps for maximum number of players. So instead of a layup line with 1 ball, so take a look. What does it look like with 1 ball?
If you have enough basketballs, each player should have a basketball.
Yes.
But you have 3 other participants in the line. Why not have them practicing some stationary ball handling drills? You're in the drill the entire time you're in the line. And so that's the difference.
So more
in
basketballs.
Mindset. More basketballs.
Getting a basketball in every kid's hand. If they're going to run sprints, for whatever reason, get them all running with a ball. Right?
Yep.
Think about that. If they're going to run a lap for some reason, run it with a ball or 2 basketballs or whatever. So more basketballs in more hands and more lines. Get 4 lines where people are going to shoot from, not just 1. Maximum number of reps for maximum number of kids. And if you'll repeat that to yourself when you're watching a drill that you're coaching, you got a shot. Point number 3, where to start. How do players decide what they're going to do when they touch the ball? That's a fundamental issue.
Yes.
What am I going to do when I catch the ball? So we're going to have a whole additional video on this.
Right.
We call it catch, look, attack. So teach players to catch that ball and look before they attack. Because I don't know how many times, like I got nightmares of it, how many times kids catch that ball and either turn and cover, and they're trying to hand it off to somebody, or they've caught it and they just go straight to their favorite hand, end up trapped in the corner by the baseline, the sideline, and 2 players.
That's right.
And if you've coached more than one game, or if you coached a half of a game, you've seen that, right? So
right side of the floor.
right-handers,
right-handers, right side of the floor in the corner.
Yes. Where to start? With the individual player, when you have the ball in your hands, is how do I decide what I'm going to do? It's always catch and look and see the movement of people, spacing, players, defenders, teammates, all of that before you attack. And it can be just a straight to a pass attack or whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
And we're the same mindset, is that if this is the only skill that you teach,
yes,
and
I agree.
the only skill that the players develop within that season, you have done, as a coach, you have done a fantastic job. Instead of trial and error, we want to be able to acquire information about where our opportunities are, where open space is, and make a decision to attack that space or to engage that space. In order to do that, the skill of catch, look, and attack has to be learned
in that order.
Yep.
Right.
In that
now
order.
you get really advanced.
Yep.
You can look first,
right,
so that when you catch it, you can immediately attack.
Yep.
But that's like when you're getting to become probably an advanced high school player. I'd love for there to be advanced middle school and elementary who did that, who've already read the court, so that as soon as they catch it, they know what they can do, and they're right 9 out of 10
and
times.
I think it would be interesting as a coach in your first practice to maybe chart or just take a look at how many players are catching and just going right away blindly.
It's your first coaching point.
It's your first coaching point. That's right. That's right.
What did you see? We say that all the time. I don't know how many times I can still hear you walking up and down the court. What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? Which kids tend to interpret means pass the ball, but just means what do you see?
Right. You may see an open play.
Yes.
But you may also see an opportunity for yourself.
Yes.
And that's what we want players to see.
This past year, I saw a 6'11" ACC center not know one side was open, he could drop step and dunk because he couldn't see it.
Right.
And he turned into people.
Wow.
And so we're not talking about something that's not important long term.
Sure.
Like that kind of decision making determines whether he's going to go to the NBA or not.
Absolutely.
So catch, look, then attack. And we're going to have a lot more to say about that in the next one. All right. Point number 4, team spacing. We think, where do I start? Teaching your players how to space, to get away from each other, how to spread out, how to be spaced from each other. So generally, we've been proponents of 5-out offense. Not because it's our favorite offense, not because we think everybody should play it, but 5-out meaning all 5 players standing, staying, operating. Their home base is outside of the arc. Nobody inside the arc.
Right.
Because for whatever reason, they can't interpret the spacing in there. So if you're going inside that arc, you go in to try to catch the ball immediately to attempt to score, and then you get back out. 5-out, so that if you've got a player doing catch and look and attack, they then it's easier to see tell what you're looking at. If you go watch one game where the kids are disciplined about 5-out, they can see.
Them being able to see what we're coaching gives them a little bit of confidence.
Yes.
So as a coach, if you're saying, hey, we want you to catch, look, and attack, and so as they execute those skills that we're telling them, they actually, in the 5-out setting, they actually see that space. So that space becomes more apparent to them. It's easier to see. And now they know what the next step is. Okay, I can attack that space.
Absolutely.
Immediately as a coach, now every player becomes armed with something that they can do. When I catch the ball, I can catch, look, and attack that space that's in the paint or at the baseline or at the top of the key. Wherever that space is, free throw line, we can attack it. And now it's not just one player. I'm the dribbler.
Right, and I just hang out and wait, or I desperately raise my hands for the ball.
When you have it, we want you to be able to see that open space. That's the first step.
Absolutely. So those are our first 4 principles of how to coach basketball. Where do I start? Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Good to see you.